But they had interviews with a bunch of WWE personalities throughout the week, like Seth Rollins and CM Punk. I mean, it's exactly the type of stuff that you would expect. They even had Triple H on Busted Open, and they posted the entire 20-minute video to their YouTube channel. Dave LaGreca and Nick Nemeth were the ones who were, quote-unquote, interviewing him. Dave LaGreca chimed in a couple of times with comments, but he didn't ask a single question. The entire interview, outside of Nick Nemeth asking about house shows, I don't think there were any questions. So I'm not sure I could really call it an interview. That's not even really what it was. It was mostly a forum for Triple H to just talk about whatever he felt like, which included him talking about how he wishes the fans who criticize would put all of that passion into the talent and not the writing. You don't think the criticism isn't getting to him? You got to watch this interview. But listen to this. This is what he had to say. That passion is what drives people. It's no different than the NFL, where guys that have never played a down of football in their life or haven't played since Pee-wee or whatever are screaming and ranting, "This coach sucks. He knows nothing about football, doesn't understand the game. Why would he run that play? Why wouldn't he do this? Why wouldn't he do that? Why would they draft that guy?" There's millions of reasons why, but it's that passion. Just like the NFL or the NBA or Major League Baseball, people sit on the couch and they yell, "I'm done. I'm never watching the Knicks again. They suck." And then they win, and now they're the greatest thing ever. It's amazing. It's passion. At the end of the day, it's why we do what we do. I was waiting for it. I was waiting for the reference. It's why we do what we do. That's his favorite go-to quote. It's what we do. He says, "I wish sometimes we could put that passion into the talent now, as opposed to when somebody gets heat in our business, it's like, God, why would they write that way? As opposed to, that no good piece of crap did this." There's something about that innocence of not knowing, and it's still real to me, damn it. First off, him throwing out all of these sports analogies is really lame, because at the end of the day, it's a television show. It's not a sport. It's a TV show with writers and predetermined outcomes. And I always praise the roster. Like, you can have the greatest roster ever assembled, but if the writing is terrible and the creative is bad, it don't matter. It doesn't matter. Stop pretending you're like the NFL or the NBA or Major League Baseball. You're not. If you really were like those leagues, there would be a union and a collective bargaining agreement, but we don't need to get into that. But if you are of the belief that kayfabe needs to make a comeback, which it's not, okay? It can never come back the way that it used to be. The toothpaste is out of the tube already, okay? And they did a lot to make that happen, quite frankly. But if that's how you feel, that's reasonable. Like, he's not wrong in that regard. But for him, of all people, to sit there and say something like that, and in the very next breath, he'll be promoting the next season of fucking Unreal on Netflix, it shows how disconnected he is to reality. Oh, I wish the fans would believe more. I wish we could get back to that a little bit. But let's throw it in people's face every week how fake the entire show is. Let's get my name on screen in the credits at the very end of every show so they know who produces it. Let's bring fans into the gorilla position with all the wrestlers congratulating each other for their performance. Let's take cameras into the writer's room and remind people why the shows are so fucking terrible in the first place. But in the end, the most important part of all of this, they put the new guy over in a big way. It was very clear from day one, because of his size and his look, that they were strapping the rocket to Obafemi. I wish I could say the same for some of the other young stars on the roster, and this became a topic of conversation after the show when Triple H sat down for the post-show scrum. I can't even remember the last one that he did. He was asked about a comment made recently by Damian Priest, which was on SmackDown, I believe. It was written into the television show. So the whole thing came off here as kayfabe, although obviously his response, what he said here was more than just kayfabe, but it was just weird because I know Priest made that comment on SmackDown. Are we supposed to believe that he went in there and he kind of worked the shoot comment in there? Or were they just playing off real emotions? I'm sure they're playing off some very real emotions that people do have in the back. But it was when Priest said that he was sick and tired of seeing the same faces on top, on the top of the card. So Triple H was asked about this. I'm going to read you his entire response here, and then I will retort. He said, look, I get that. If you're the guy that wants to take the spot, it's frustrating when there's guys above you that have the spot. We're in a period of time where there's a lot of top performers in top spots that over time have earned those spots and are selling tickets and are incredibly popular. So you really have to do something. The narrative of, it's my turn, I've been here for a while. There are no turns. That's not how it works. You earn the spot. Believe me, if somebody is getting over more than somebody else, we move that person into the spot and move the other person down. Okay, sure. Move the other person down, he says. But it's not just that. It's not just that they're getting the loud crowd reaction. Are they going to be good in the spot? Are they going to hold up their end of the bargain? Are they going to screw up if we give it to them? Are they going to make a mistake that we regret? There's all those things factored in. And I love the fact that sometimes talent are like, well, it's frustrating. Great. That means work harder. Get yourself there. Figure it out. Figure out the way. Figure out how to get it done. I've seen a million talents succeed because of what they do, not because of storyline or creative. They gave them the spot. 99% of the time in this business, the person gets over and then gets the push. That's how it works. That's how it's supposed to work. You go do you, and then we follow it, because otherwise, most of the time they will choke on it if it's not what the fans believe in. Big believer in, if you want the spot, go take it. Whenever anybody says, I don't know why I'm not in that spot, well, I don't know. Are you more over than Cody, Roman, Punk, Liv, Io? The people that are in that spot, get there. Make those crowd reactions. Whatever you need to make it happen, that's what we're here to do. I love that mentality because I think it makes people work harder. And if they're not willing to work to get the spot, then you shouldn't have it anyway. Boy, I'm sure that those comments are going to go over like a fucking lead balloon in the back there. So, yes, of course, you need to find a way to get over and get the crowd invested in what you're doing. That goes without saying, right? It can't just all be on the company. It's not like, hey, I can only bowl if there's, bumpers on the side. I can't ride a bike unless I have training wheels, right? You have to be able to do it on your own. I don't think anybody is denying that. I don't think there's any person who works in that locker room who has made it as far as they have to even be in WWE. There is not a single person, I am sure, in that locker room who is so lazy to think, oh, well, I've made it. I'm here. I'm on TV. I don't have to do anything. I just want creative to just sort of get me to where I need to be, especially in this day and age. If you're relying on creative to get you to where you need to be, you're a fucking idiot. But I don't think there's anybody in the back who honestly feels that way. And I think they would be insulted, frankly, listening to him say it in that way. Whenever he opens his mouth and he talks about this stuff, it is just so disingenuous to think that he doesn't have anything to do with it. Like, he's shifting it from creative to them and saying, hey, it's on you. Get over. Right? It can't be all on them. It's not the nature of what they do in this day and age. It's a fucking television show. And it's structured in that way. And they have an entire writing team, and they have to pick and choose the people that they want to get over, right? They'll do their part. But to insinuate that it's mostly just on them, and creative is just sort of in the background to guide them a little bit here and there, right? Because you listen to what he is saying, and that's how it comes off. Again, it is just so disingenuous, because if you don't have the support of the office, or you don't have the support of the creative team, it doesn't matter how loud the crowds may be. You're dead in the water. Look at LA Knight over the past 3 years. Oba. I'm not saying Oba doesn't put in the work. I mean, that dude is a beast. But you can't tell me that they did not have him pegged for the top spot before he even wrestled Cody on that Saturday night's main event last year. Before he even debuted officially on the main roster. They had stars in their eyes. They had found their next big superstar. It's a lot more than just, oh, great, go work harder then. They absolutely have their favorites, and they absolutely have people who they don't like as much. And no matter what they do, they're just never going to make it to a top spot. And then you have people, frankly, who they're just not good enough to be in a top spot relative to the other talent they have. There is that too. And that's a hard thing for some fans to accept, that there are favorites of theirs. There are people they like. There are nice guys and nice girls on the roster who maybe just aren't main event level material, right? There is, I'm not naming names here, but I'm just saying that happens as well. Not everybody can be in a main event spot. There are only so many spots in the main event. That is true. But to hear him talk about it, it's like, well, if you're not over, well, that's all on you. There are people on that roster who aren't over right now because they are given shit creative, or they're getting time cut from their matches, or they're not getting consistent television time at all. You can't get over if you're not on TV. I don't give a shit what you say. If you cannot get on television, if you're barely able to get visibility on the shows, you cannot get over. They don't really have many house shows anymore. You're not even working live events and getting over in front of those crowds. So if you're not getting on the show, you're basically absent. It's like you don't exist. It's like you're ghosted on these shows. You know, Jeff Cobb just did an interview. I think it was with Denise Salcedo. It was at WrestleCon, whatever the big convention is in Minneapolis this weekend. And he's, I believe, a free man now. His 90 days are up. Obviously, he was part of the MFTs, and they didn't do anything with him. And he was there for like a year, and they just didn't do anything with him. So he is doing this interview, and he's talking about, he seems like a really chill, very down-to-earth guy. He's a very good wrestler. Jeff Cobb is not somebody who is going to come to WWE realistically and be world heavyweight champion or WWE champion. And that's not me saying he doesn't have the talent for it, but like, I don't know that when he signed with them and debuted, even the most ardent of Jeff Cobb fans was thinking, oh man, the sky's the limit. He could be, you know, in main events with Cody Rhodes and all these different people. That probably was not going to happen. But they didn't do anything with him. He never had the opportunity to really show what he can do, like bell to bell on a consistent basis, or even have the chance to develop any real personality on the shows, maybe as a babyface instead of a heel, right? Even though he came in as a heel. That was largely the problem with the MFTs, which became a chore to watch on SmackDown every week because there was no character development. You know, on a television show where they often talk about the importance of character and the importance of story and the importance of charisma and all of these elements that go into being successful in their business, in their industry, right? In their company. He talked in this interview with Denise, and again, I'm paraphrasing here, where when they weren't doing anything with him, he was constantly like going to people whether it was Triple H or just people around him, I don't know, but he was going to people and saying, hey, like, let me talk, like, or if I'm not going to be used in this way, let me at least wrestle. Put me on main event. And let me go out there and just try to have some great matches. And the response that he kept getting was, you know, in so many words, no, that's not really what we have in mind. All right, it was something to that effect. The guy wasn't doing anything. Everybody knew it. And he was trying, he was going to people, and he says he was trying to get something at least, even if it was on like the C show, and they still wouldn't do anything with him. And then they cut him. So in an example like that, I would love for someone to bring that up to Triple H and say, you know, what's your response to that? What are talents supposed to do when maybe they're not being utilized and they're trying to make, you know, efforts behind the scenes to contribute in some way where they think they can, and they're being turned down? What do you have to say about that? You know how frustrating that must be for someone like him who's so low on the totem pole there, and because of that can't get anybody to give two shits because they probably look at him and go, this guy's never going to draw us any money. Well, then why the fuck did you sign him in the first place? He's not a rookie. You know how long he's been around for? He's a veteran of the wrestling industry. I think people know who he is. I mean, he's got this big body of work. You obviously signed him. You knew what you were getting. I don't understand this. I don't understand when they sign people or they bring people up from developmental, whatever it may be. How do you not know? How do you not have a plan, you know, for what to do with these people and say, okay, this guy or this girl may not be good at this. You know, their in-ring is a little shaky, or maybe they're great in the ring, but their promos aren't great, or, you know, everything is great except we don't really see a whole lot from them personality-wise. So maybe we need to work on that and get them more, you know, mic time. Like, are they not doing this? Are they not evaluating each of these people on a talent by talent basis and saying, okay, we called them up, we signed them, We're paying them. Well, now what's the best use of them? How do we give them the opportunity to go out there and get over? You have to give them the opportunity to get over. Because God forbid if they decide to take the bull by the horns and do something that they're not told to do, they'll get heat for it. That's what I love about it. Well, like when I hear wrestlers talk about this and do shoot interviews and stuff, like they're not doing anything with me or they're not pushing me. And so I tried to take the incentive, and in a promo, maybe they went off script and they said something, or in a match they did something and then they go back and they got heat for it. You're not supposed to do that, or you didn't clear it. And now they're in the doghouse now. It's like, how the fuck are you supposed to get over in a situation like that? It's got to be such a mind fuck for some of these people. Like, I've used Carmelo Hayes as an example recently of all of this. Carmelo Hayes may never be WWE champion at this rate, but he was the United States champion. And that's where he really started to get over. It was through the work that he was doing in the ring. Not even his promos. His matches were getting over. He was starting to actually get reactions from the people, right? The reactions that Triple H talks about. And then after they took the title off of him, he vanished. He couldn't buy television time on most weeks. Still can't. He was left off the WrestleMania card. Despite all that great work he put in, he was left off the SummerSlam card. Does that mean he didn't get himself over? Does that mean he didn't work as hard as Trick Williams or Baron Corbin, who's been back for all of 3 weeks? What does he have to do? Does he have to kiss someone's ass? Does he have to suck someone off in the office? I mean, maybe that's how it worked back in the 80s, but that shouldn't be how it works today. It's the tired Vince McMahon brass ring cliche. You got to reach up and grab that brass ring, pal. Well, that's awfully hard to do sometimes when you hit your head on that glass ceiling. I'm sure those comments went over great with certain people in that locker room.